Welcome to This Explainer. I am so glad you're here. Look, if you're a parent tuning in today, I want you to start by just taking a deep, slow breath. Parenting is a beautiful, totally transformative experience, but let's be real, it is also an incredibly demanding, exhausting journey. And right now, there is so much noise out there about what you should or shouldn't be doing. You are constantly bombarded with messages telling you that you need expensive sensory toy subscriptions, complicated sleep training regimens, or rigorous educational programs just to be a good parent. Well, today, we are going to completely quiet that noise. We're going to dive into some fascinating, brand new science that is incredibly validating and deeply foundational to early childhood development. We're exploring a topic that is so close to every parent's heart, how your everyday love and connection literally shapes your baby's developing brain. So get comfortable, take a breath, and let's explore the research together. Picture this. It's 2 a.m. You are bone tired, the house is completely dark, the baby is crying, and as you're swaying back and forth in the nursery, that familiar creeping doubt sets in. You can feel the physical weight of your baby against your chest. You might even catch that faint, familiar smell of sour spit up on your shoulder, and this really heavy question just echoes in your mind. Am I really doing enough? Am I stimulating their brain enough? Am I totally messing this up? It is a visceral, high-stakes crisis moment that almost every single parent experiences. When you're running on empty, sleep-deprived, and overwhelmed, it is so easy to feel like you're failing to provide some magical, complex developmental environment for your child. But what if the science actually says that what you are doing in that exact, exhausting, imperfect moment is exactly what your baby's brain needs the most? And that brings us to the scientific promise of today's explainer. New 2026 research from the Columbia University Irving Medical Center has uncovered a discovery that fundamentally changes how we view maternal bonding. For decades, we kind of thought optimal infant brain development was mostly about external stimuli, right? You know, the right educational toys, those black and white flashcards, the perfect Mozart playlist. But this new study, published in the Infant Mental Health Journal, looked closely at what happens inside a child's brain when a mother simply connects with her baby. And the findings are incredibly empowering. They prove that you absolutely do not need expensive gear. Your daily, ordinary connection is a scientifically validated developmental tool. This isn't just about feeling warm and fuzzy. This is about tangible, measurable neurodevelopment. To give you an idea of how robust this data really is, let's look at the numbers. Researchers tracked an incredible US-based sample of 610 mothers and their infants over the course of 3 years. This wasn't some small, isolated group. This was part of a massive initiative gathering data from academic centers in New York, Utah, and Alabama. That geographical diversity is key because it means these weren't perfect parents living in a controlled laboratory bubble. These were real, everyday mothers navigating the messy, unpredictable, beautiful reality of the first 3 years of their child's life, dealing with the exact same stresses and joys that you do every single day. Now, the methodology of the study is what makes it so groundbreaking. Researchers didn't just look at a single snapshot in time. They assessed the strength of the mother-to-infant bond at exactly 4 months postpartum. Why 4 months? Well, in the world of early childhood development, 4 months is a totally critical neurodevelopmental window. This is exactly when infants are rapidly developing the cognitive capacity for intentional face-to-face social interaction. Their visual cortex is maturing, and they are actively looking to you to understand the world. Then, the scientists followed up. They checked the baby's developmental milestones at 6 and 18 months. Finally, they evaluated the children's emotional and behavioral profiles at 2 and 3 years old. The crucial takeaway here is that the connection established at just 4 months predicts profound developmental outcomes years down the line. To actually capture this data, the scientific community had to make a massive psychological shift. In the past, scientists used a 25-item postpartum bonding questionnaire, and it was heavily focused on diagnosing deficits, basically looking for what was wrong, what was missing, or what was failing in the parent-child relationship. But in this 2026 study, the team created a revised, abbreviated 14-item version called the PBQ-R. This shift to a strength-based perspective is so empowering for parental mental health. It's scored so that higher scores actually indicate stronger bonding. Instead of hunting for clinical dysfunction, it focuses purely on the presence of positive connection, general mother-to-infant feelings, and the quiet, everyday power of ordinary love. Using this new strength-based measurement, the researchers uncovered 3 massive takeaways for parents. Finding number 1, boosting early brain development. Let's look at where the everyday magic of bonding meets the hard data. The study used the Ages and Stages questionnaire, which is a highly respected tool for screening cognitive milestones. And they found a direct, undeniable correlation. Mothers who reported stronger bonding at 4 months saw their babies experience accelerated developmental boosts. At just 6 months old, these infants showed way more advanced communication skills, like complex babbling or sustained eye contact. They showed better fine motor skills, picture a 6-month-old effortlessly passing a wooden block from one hand to the other, and even enhanced early problem-solving abilities. And you know what? Those neural pathways kept strengthening. Fast forward to 18 months, and that early 4-month bond was still paying massive dividends, resulting in significantly stronger personal social skills, like a toddler excitedly pointing across the room to show you a dog they find interesting. Your early bond literally wires their brain for faster skill acquisition. So, what does this mean for you today? Let's translate this research into a practical, zero-cost action step. Item number 4 on that validated scale simply states, I love to cuddle my baby. That's it. That is a scientifically proven developmental intervention. So tonight, or during the next feeding, just pause. Hold your baby close. Feel the steady rhythm of their heartbeat against your chest. Breathe in the scent of the top of their head. Lean fully into that physical connection. You aren't just resting. You aren't just surviving a sleepy afternoon. By simply cuddling your baby and feeling that profound closeness, you are actively firing neurons and stimulating their fine motor and communication pathways. You are doing the work. Finding number 2. Shielding against behavioral problems. We've seen how bonding accelerates development, but it also acts as a powerful protective armor for your child's future. The researchers evaluated the toddlers at 2 and 3 years old using the Child Behavior Checklist, and they discovered this fascinating long-term buffering effect. They found that a strong maternal bond established way back at 4 months significantly reduced future behavioral issues. It lowers internalizing symptoms. In the real world, an internalizing symptom might look like a toddler who is overly anxious, withdrawing, or hiding from their peers at the playground. It also lowers externalizing symptoms. These are the classic, highly visible moments, like aggressive acting out or a full-blown meltdown in the middle of the grocery store aisle. Ultimately, this early connection reduces the total behavioral problem score by age 3. The bond you build in those early sleep-deprived months literally constructs an emotional shock absorber that helps your toddler navigate their big, overwhelming feelings years later. Here's your second practical transition, and it is profound in its simplicity. Watch your baby's face. When they smile or laugh, simply smile back. Enjoy unstructured playtime. Look, I know playing the 50th round of peekaboo can feel totally exhausting, but you do not need a complex, structured curriculum to build emotional resilience. It's all about serve and return interaction. When your infant serves you a smile and you return it by locking eyes and sharing a moment of genuine joy, you are actively laying down the neural architecture that will allow them to self-soothe. You are teaching their brain that the world is safe and responsive. Finding joy in their smile today is a literal protective shield for their behavior tomorrow. And that brings us to finding number 3, protecting maternal mental health. Because early connection isn't just about the baby, it is fiercely protective of the mother's well-being too. The researchers also measured maternal depression at 4 months. Postpartum depression and anxiety are real, terrifying hurdles, and the transition to motherhood is extraordinarily vulnerable. But the data showed a strong correlation. Stronger bonding is actually associated with lower maternal postpartum depression. But look closely at this breakdown. An incredible 93% of the mothers in the sample reported none or only mild depressive symptoms. Only 6% had moderate and just 1% severe. Why does this deeply matter? It proves that you do not have to be a perfect parent, totally free of stress, exhaustion, or occasional sadness, to have a developmentally crucial bond with your baby. The vast majority of everyday mothers, even those having really hard, tearful days where everything feels overwhelming, are still successfully forging this essential connection. For our third practical step, I really want you to focus on your own maternal confidence. Parenting is tough. Acknowledge the hard days. There will be days when the nap schedule completely falls apart, the house is a mess, and you are entirely touched out and exhausted. That is normal. But more importantly, recognize your own growing confidence. When you successfully soothe a cry or finally figure out a new feeding rhythm, I want you to literally say out loud, I handled that well. Mentally flag that as a win to build your own neural pathways of confidence. Lean into your growing competence rather than obsessing over perceived flaws. Your baby doesn't need a flawless robot. They need you, with your growing competence and your persistent, resilient love. You know, scientists now call your daily, ordinary love by a formal name, early relational health, or ERH. Rooted deeply in attachment theory, it's now recognized by major pediatric societies as an essential promoter of child outcomes.
How empowering is it to have a medical term for simply loving your child? This isn't just a soft secondary aspect of parenting. The relationship itself is the intervention. You don't need to buy the perfect developmental environment because you are the environment. The bond you are building day by day is the very foundation upon which all their future cognitive, motor, and social skills are built.
So the next time you find yourself standing in a dark room at 2 a.m., swaying with a crying baby, exhausted and wondering if you are doing enough, I want you to remember this research. I want you to remember those 610 everyday mothers in the Columbia study. Your love is the most powerful, evidence-based tool for your baby's developing brain. You already have everything you need inside of you to help your child thrive. You are enough. Every single cuddle, every shared smile, every ordinary moment of physical closeness is actively wiring your child for a healthier, more resilient future. The science proves it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I truly hope this research brings you a deep sense of calm authority in your incredible parenting journey. I'd love to hear from you. Are you going to try the extra cuddle during the next feeding or focus on unstructured smiles tomorrow morning? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more calm, research-backed blueprints to help your family thrive, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.